Accused of embezzling funds from a charity, Inez Soares faces public humiliation and the threat of losing everything she's worked for. When a mysterious letter reveals hidden truths, will she risk it all to clear her name? Inez Soares stepped into the grand hall of the charity gala, her heart fluttering with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The lavish venue, adorned with sparkling chandeliers and elegant floral arrangements, felt overwhelming for a simple woman like her. At 32, with her brunette hair neatly pinned back and wearing a modest yet tasteful dress, she felt like a fish out of water among the impeccably dressed guests, each one radiating wealth and sophistication. Yet, pride filled her as she moved through the crowd, ensuring everything ran smoothly for the event she had dedicated herself to. As laughter and chatter filled the air, a sudden commotion erupted. A high-profile attendee, Eleanor Hayes, gasped, drawing the attention of everyone around her. Inez's stomach dropped as she overheard frantic whispers and the word jewelry floating among the guests. A priceless piece had vanished, and chaos ensued. Panic rippled through the crowd as organizers scrambled to locate the missing item, and the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Without warning, Eleanor's voice cut through the noise, pointing directly at Inez. She must have taken it. Look at her humble background. The accusation struck like a lightning bolt, freezing Inez in place. Gasps echoed around her, and she felt the weight of the guests' judgment, their eyes like daggers piercing through her. The event manager, clearly influenced by the elite crowd, demanded that Inez leave immediately. Every shred of respect she had built crumbled in an instant, leaving her feeling crushed and powerless. With her head hung low, Inez exited the venue, the thrill of the gala replaced by the bitter taste of humiliation. Yet deep within her, a flicker of defiance ignited. She knew she was innocent of the accusations that threatened to destroy her life. Back at her modest apartment, Inez sat on the edge of her bed, staring blankly at the wall. The vibrant colors of the gala felt like a distant memory, replaced by a heavy gray fog that enveloped her. She couldn't sleep, her mind racing with thoughts that spiraled into a dark abyss. Each time she closed her eyes, the image of Eleanor's accusing finger haunted her, a relentless specter of her humiliation. She felt as if the walls were closing in on her, suffocating her spirit. Days turned into nights, and the silence of her apartment grew louder. Friends reached out, their voices tinged with concern, urging her to talk. "Inez, we're worried about you," one of them said during a phone call, her voice soft yet insistent. "You've always been there for us. Let us be there for you." But how could she explain the depth of her shame? The words stuck in her throat, an unbridgeable chasm between her and the people who cared for her. She wanted to scream, to cry, to let them know how unjustly she had been treated, but the fear of being misunderstood held her back. In moments of quiet, memories flooded her mind, each one a testament to her struggles and sacrifices. She recalled the diligent student she had once been, poring over books late into the night while caring for her ailing mother. The smell of her mother's favorite lavender oil still lingered in her memory, a comforting scent that was now intertwined with loss. Inez had given up her dreams, her education, to ensure her mother received the care she needed. Then there were the years spent juggling multiple jobs, the fatigue etched into her bones as she worked tirelessly to provide for her child. The pride she felt when she landed her position at the charity seemed like a cruel joke now. It had been her chance to give back to a community that had always supported her, a place where she felt valued and respected. But now, her identity was unraveling, her hard work overshadowed by a moment of betrayal. Sitting in the dim light of her apartment, Inez thought about the people who had once looked at her with admiration. She remembered the smiles of children she had helped, the gratitude expressed by families who benefited from the charity's efforts. Each memory was a reminder of her purpose, a stark contrast to the persona she had been painted as, a thief, a fraud. The pain felt almost unbearable, a weight pressing down on her chest. Yet, amid the despair, a glimmer of something began to stir within her, a flicker of determination. Inez realized she could not let this false accusation define her. She had fought too hard to get to where she was, and she would not allow Eleanor and the others to strip her of her dignity. A resolve started to build inside her, an ember igniting in the darkness. If she was to reclaim her life, she had to find the truth, not just for herself, but for the integrity of the charity she loved so dearly. As the days passed, the spark of determination grew brighter. She began to think more clearly, recalling the details of that fateful night. Images flashed before her eyes, moments she had brushed aside in the chaos of the gala. There had been a man, a well-dressed figure who had lingered near the jewelry display, his behavior standing out against the backdrop of glitz and glamour. Inez's heart raced as she focused on the memory, piecing together fragments of the evening. Driven by an urgency she hadn't felt in days, Inez picked up her phone to call her employer, Lucas. Maybe he could help her piece together the puzzle. But as she dialed, doubt crept in. Would he believe her? Would he dismiss her concerns again? The fear of being brushed aside weighed heavily, but she pushed through, her desire for vindication overpowering her anxiety. Lucas, she started, her voice wavering slightly. I need to talk about the gala. There was a pause on the other end, and she could almost hear him sigh. Inez, I know things have been difficult, but without proof, there's nothing I can do. His words stung, but they also fueled her resolve. She wouldn't let this go. The thought of the man she'd seen gnawed at her, and she realized she had to act. The truth was out there, buried beneath layers of doubt and deception. She would find it, and in doing so, she would reclaim her life, one way or another. With newfound determination, Inez decided to return to the gala location, the site of her public humiliation. She needed to speak to the event staff, those who had been there that night, and try to piece together what had happened. It was time to take matters into her own hands. As Inez approached the gala location, her heart raced with a mix of hope and trepidation. The lavish venue, which had once been a source of pride, now felt like a battleground, a place where she would confront her past and seek the truth. The memory of Eleanor's accusation echoed in her mind, but she pushed it aside, focusing on the task ahead. She walked through the familiar entrance, the scent of polished wood and floral arrangements filling her senses, a stark contrast to the turmoil within her. Inside, the event staff were busy resetting the room, the remnants of the previous night's chaos still visible in the scattered tables and leftover decorations. Inez took a deep breath, summoning her courage before approaching a group of workers. Excuse me, she began, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. I was at the gala the other night when the jewelry went missing. I need to know everything you can tell me about what happened. One of the staff members, a young woman named Hazel, looked at her with a mix of sympathy and curiosity. It was such a mess, she replied, glancing around nervously. We were all in shock. No one expected something like that to happen. Inez nodded, her pulse quickening. Did you notice anyone acting suspiciously? Anyone who might have been near the jewelry display? Hazel hesitated, her brow furrowing as she thought. There was a man, well-dressed, very sharp. He seemed out of place, really. I remember thinking he was too flashy for a charity event. He kept hanging around the display, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Inez's heart leaped. What did he look like? Hazel described the man, and Inez's mind raced. She could picture him, the well-dressed figure from her memory, slipping through the crowd. Do you know where I might find the security footage from that night? She asked, desperation creeping into her voice. Security? Hazel nodded. I think the guard might still be here. Let me check. She hurried off, leaving Inez standing there, a whirlwind of emotions surging within her. The pieces were beginning to align, and for the first time since the gala, she felt a sense of control over her situation. Moments later, Hazel returned with Ethan, a sympathetic security guard with kind eyes. This is Ethan. He might be able to help you, she said before stepping back. Hey, I heard you were looking for footage from the gala, Ethan said, his voice calm and reassuring. I can show you what we have. Follow me. Inez followed Ethan down a dimly lit corridor, her heart racing with anticipation. They arrived in a small room filled with monitors, the glow from the screens casting a soft light in the space. As Ethan began to sift through the footage, Inez felt a mixture of fear and hope. This was it, the moment that could change everything. Here we go, Ethan said, clicking through various clips until he reached the night of the gala. The screen flickered to life, showing the bustling crowd, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Inez leaned closer, her breath catching as she searched for the moment that might vindicate her. As the footage played, she watched with bated breath. The camera captured the atmosphere of the event, the flow of guests, the excitement in the air. Then, there he was, the well-dressed man, lingering near the jewelry display, his movements furtive. Inez's heart raced as she recognized him. Wait, pause it there, she urged, pointing at the screen. Ethan complied, freezing the frame just as the man slipped the jewelry into his pocket. The pinprick of adrenaline shot through Inez, and she could hardly believe her eyes. That's him. He took it. Ethan's eyes widened in realization as he rewound the footage slightly, replaying the crucial moment. I can't believe it, he murmured, glancing at Inez. This is solid evidence. With the proof before her, a rush of elation surged through Inez. She felt lighter, as if a heavy weight had been lifted from her shoulders. We need to show this to someone, she said, determination hardening her voice. I have to clear my name. Ethan nodded, his expression resolute. Let's go to the charity office. We can present this to the board, and they'll have to take action. As they left the security room, Inez felt a renewed sense of purpose. She was no longer just a victim of false accusations, she was a woman on a mission. The thought of standing before the charity's board filled her with a mix of exhilaration and fear, but she kept her focus on the goal. She would not allow Eleanor or anyone else to define her. When they arrived at the charity office, Inez took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. The board members were gathered around a large conference table, discussing plans for the upcoming events. As she stepped into the room with Ethan by her side, all eyes turned toward her. The atmosphere shifted, a palpable tension hanging in the air. Excuse me, everyone, Inez began, her voice steady despite the nerves coursing through her. I have something important to share regarding the incident at the gala. The board members exchanged glances, confusion and curiosity mingling in their expressions. Eleanor sat among them, her demeanor composed but her eyes narrowing in suspicion. Inez could feel the weight of her gaze, but she pressed on, determined to expose the truth. I've obtained security footage from the night the jewelry went missing, Inez continued, her voice gaining strength. And it shows exactly what happened. Ethan stepped forward, ready to assist her in presenting the evidence. As the video played on a large screen, Inez watched the board's reactions. Gasps broke the silence, and murmurs of disbelief spread through the room. The tide was turning, and Inez could feel it. Eleanor's face flushed with anger and disbelief as she realized the gravity of the situation. This is absurd, she exclaimed, her voice rising above the murmurs. You're trying to frame someone else for your own mistakes. Inez met Eleanor's gaze, her own eyes blazing with determination. No, Eleanor. This is about the truth. I may have been wrongly accused, but I will not stand by and let this continue. As the video concluded, the board members turned to each other, their expressions shifting from skepticism to realization. Inez's heart soared as she saw the respect slowly returning to their faces. The evidence was irrefutable, and she was finally being seen for who she truly was. Ethan stepped forward, addressing the board directly. This footage shows the real thief, and it's time to take action against him. Inez deserves an apology and a chance to reclaim her reputation. Inez's heart raced with hope, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. She had fought for her truth, and now it was being acknowledged. The journey was far from over, but she felt stronger than she had in days, ready to embrace whatever came next. Inez prepared herself for the confrontation ahead. She needed to act decisively, and the charity event where Marcus, the well-dressed thief, would be present was the perfect opportunity. Dressed in a simple yet elegant outfit, she felt a rush of emotions as she approached the grand venue. The echoes of laughter and the soft strains of music reached her ears, but beneath it all, a current of anxiety surged through her. This time, she was not just a spectator, she was ready to reclaim her narrative. As she entered the venue, Inez was acutely aware of the glances thrown her way. Some guests were familiar faces, their expressions shifting from surprise to intrigue. She felt the weight of their curiosity, but this time it only fueled her determination. She spotted the stage where the charity leaders were preparing to speak, their presence commanding the room. Gathering her courage, Inez moved toward the front, her heart pounding with each step. The moment had arrived. As the speakers began their address, Inez took a deep breath, stepping forward to interrupt. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice steady yet filled with urgency. The chatter quieted, and all eyes turned toward her. "I have something important to share regarding the incident at the last gala." Gasps rippled through the audience, and she could see Eleanor's face pale as she recognized Inez. The tension in the room was palpable, but Inez pressed on. "I have video evidence that shows the truth about what happened that night. The real thief is not me, but a man who took advantage of the chaos." With a nod from Ethan, who had followed her to the event, they projected the footage onto the large screen behind her. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the video unfolded, revealing Marcus slipping the jewelry into his pocket while guests were distracted. Inez's heart raced as she watched the disbelief wash over the audience. This was the moment she had envisioned, the chance to turn the tide. As the video concluded, murmurs of shock filled the room. The atmosphere shifted dramatically, the crowd's skepticism transformed into outrage directed at Marcus. Inez felt a surge of vindication wash over her. She had taken the risk to confront the truth, and it was paying off. Eleanor, realizing the gravity of her earlier accusation, attempted to regain control of the narrative. "This is absurd. You're trying to ruin Marcus's reputation without any actual proof," she exclaimed, her voice rising in desperation. But the crowd was no longer swayed by her words. Questions erupted from the audience, demanding to know how they could have misjudged Inez. Whispers of apology began to circulate, and Inez felt the tide of public opinion shifting in her favor. "Inez deserves an explanation," a voice called out from the back of the room. It was one of the charity board members, her tone filled with sincerity. "How could we have doubted her?" With every word exchanged, Inez's confidence grew. This was her moment to reclaim her dignity, to remind everyone of her contributions and dedication to the charity. "I have always worked hard for this organization," she said firmly, her voice carrying across the room. "I have dedicated my life to helping others, and I refuse to let this false accusation define me." The crowd erupted in applause, and Inez felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. This was the validation she had craved, a reaffirmation of her worth after weeks of doubt and despair. The board members exchanged looks of regret, their previous judgments melting away in the face of undeniable evidence. Ethan stepped forward, addressing the charity leaders directly. "We need to take action against Marcus and acknowledge the harm caused by these accusations. Inez deserves our support, not our suspicion." The board members nodded in agreement, their expressions shifting from shock to determination. Eleanor's face flushed with anger, but the crowd's support for Inez was unwavering. The energy in the room buzzed with renewed purpose. Inez felt a rush of gratitude for everyone who had stood by her, even in silence. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. "I'm grateful for this opportunity to clear my name. I just want to continue my work and make a difference in the community." As the applause grew louder, Inez realized she was not just reclaiming her reputation, she was stepping into a new chapter of her life. The respect she had once lost was slowly being restored. In the aftermath, Marcus was swiftly removed from the event, facing significant backlash for his actions. Eleanor, realizing the consequences of her false accusations, was left to grapple with the fallout of her words. Inez watched as the dynamics shifted, the crowd now rallying around her. Lucas, the event manager who had once dismissed her concerns, approached her with a look of sincerity. "Inez, I owe you an apology. I was wrong to doubt you, and I deeply regret how I handled everything." Inez accepted his apology with grace, knowing she had proven her worth. The promotion he offered her felt like a just reward for her resilience. The charity also extended a scholarship for professional development, recognizing her dedication and integrity. As she walked out of the venue, the atmosphere felt different. No longer did she feel like an outcast, instead, she was met with respect and acknowledgement from those who had once judged her. With her head held high, Inez stepped into her future, ready to embrace the opportunities ahead. She was no longer invisible, she was Inez Soares, a woman of strength and purpose, ready to make her mark in the world. In the aftermath of the gala, the atmosphere buzzed with a mix of shock and disbelief. Marcus was swiftly removed from the event, his reputation in tatters as the crowd rallied around Inez, ready to defend her against the wrongful accusations of theft. Eleanor, once so confident in her judgment, now faced the consequences of her hasty words. The whispers of the crowd turned from suspicion to sympathy, and Inez felt a sense of vindication wash over her. Lucas, the event manager who had previously dismissed her concerns, approached Inez with a look of genuine remorse etched across his face. "Inez, I owe you an apology," he said, his voice low. "I was wrong to doubt you, and I deeply regret how I handled everything." Inez met his gaze, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. She accepted his apology with grace, understanding that everyone makes mistakes, and sometimes it takes a moment of crisis to reveal one's true character. With the truth now revealed, the charity board convened to discuss the implications of the incident. They recognized Inez's dedication and integrity, and as a gesture of goodwill, they offered her a promotion. "Your commitment to our mission has always been evident," one of the board members said, her voice resonating with admiration. "We want to ensure you have the opportunity to continue your invaluable work here." Inez felt a swell of pride at their acknowledgement. It was a validation of her hard work and dedication. Alongside the promotion, the charity also extended a scholarship for professional development, a chance for Inez to enhance her skills and grow within the organization. "This is just the beginning," Lucas said, a smile breaking through his earlier seriousness. "We want you to thrive, Inez." As she walked out of the venue, the air felt charged with a new energy. The glances from the guests had transformed. No longer were they filled with judgment but rather respect and acknowledgement. She could feel the weight of their gazes shifting, and for the first time since that fateful night, she walked with her head held high, embodying the strength and resilience she had fought so hard to reclaim. Inez stepped into a new chapter of her life, no longer invisible and ready to embrace her future with renewed strength. The experience had changed her. It had tested her resolve in ways she never anticipated. Yet, through the chaos, she had found her voice and learned the importance of standing up for herself and her truth. As she walked down the street, the sun setting behind her, casting a warm glow on the pavement, Inez felt a sense of clarity. She was determined to make a difference, not just for herself but for others who might find themselves in similar situations. She wanted to use her experience to inspire those around her, to show them that even in the darkest moments, there is a path to redemption. Her heart swelled with hope as she envisioned the future ahead, one filled with opportunities to grow, to learn, and to continue serving her community. She had faced the storm and emerged stronger, with a renewed purpose that would guide her every step. Inez Soares was ready to take on the world, armed with her truth and a fierce determination to create change.